I love working with him. I love working with Camilla. They're just amazing people. This split with his brother is the worst part, because they were so close. I photographed them both since they were born. They come out in their mother's arms. And then Meghan came along and suddenly everything changed.
Hi y'all, Kinsey Schofield here, and I am in London. I can't believe I'm in London, and one of the first things I wanted to do was pounce on Arthur Edwards, who I have just been absolutely enamored with over the last few years. You are a royal photographer. You've been doing this for over 40 years, but you have such a sweet spirit, and I hate to read comments, but whenever I read the comments about things you do, everybody in the comments say they just want to hug you. You are so sweet, you're so thoughtful, and you really are passionate about the royal family. You know them inside and out. Do you feel protective of them, these days?
I do now, yes, but I didn't when I started. When I started, I was, you've got to remember, in the late 70s and early 80s, newspapers in Britain were very, very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
And you needed to get the picture, and at all costs, and the competition was fierce. It was huge circulations. Millions we were selling every day. And I remember having two serious rows with the Prince of Wales, now our king. I remember once in a field up in Sandringham, he berated me for 10 minutes, and another time down at Highgrove, I was walking along a public footpath, and he came up on his horse and he started screaming at me, "What are you doing on my land?" And I'm not on your land, I'm on a public footpath. And he said, "Well, public footpaths for walking on, not for taking photographs." And I said, "I'm just doing my job, And he said, "Some job." And I said, "Well, at least I've got a job, and I've only been on the paper about 18 months. And he took that as an insult, and of course he galloped off. And a couple of days later, his policeman came up to me and said, "What the hell happened down there?" So why? He said, "Well, we were sitting in the kitchen having coffee. He came in, he banged his whip on the table, the coffee cups went flying. He said, 'You're supposed to be guarding me,' he said, 'and Arthur Edwards is on my front lawn.'" So, it wasn't too great. And but what happened was, slowly, I was listening to this man, listening to his speeches. I was traveling with him. I've been to every rainforest in the world with him, where he's begged the people, the presidents, to stop ripping up this precious resource. And slowly I realised this man was a visionary. He wasn't just the prince of the realm. He was very much a visionary, and he's been talking about the planet warming up for 30 years. And we're seeing what's happening today. He's right. And of course, when he went on about poor architecture, he made this amazing speech when he said that the planners did more damage to St. Paul's Square, Paternoster Square, which surrounds St. Paul's Cathedral, than the Luftwaffe did, and it was an amazing speech. And he was right. And of course, the people that own those buildings ripped them down and put up beautiful buildings. And then he went on about organic food, and people were calling him a crank, and it's crazy. You go in a supermarket here, it's regular and organic, organic. And so, I realised this man was something special, and I started to become... I've become to like him a lot, And I didn't want to offend him anymore. I didn't want to take pictures of him, pulling a face or anything like that. And suddenly and then one day, a government minister here insulted him in an article for another newspaper. And Mr. Murdoch, our proprietor, asked me if someone to defend the prince because he couldn't do it himself. And I wrote a very, I suppose, lovely piece about, what a great man he was and what he'd done. And from then on, things changed. He changed towards me and I changed towards him, and we then began to do lots of things in harmony. And of course, if you know this, but when he was 70, I asked him, we were coming back on a plane from Canada, and I asked him, "What are you going to do for your 70th birthday?" And he said, "I'd like a party," he said, "for 70 people, all the same age as me, 70.
Oh.
So that was nice. Anyway, about a month before his 70th birthday, I get a call from his office. He said, "The Prince wants to know what you're doing about this party." So, so I went to see the editor, and we organised it very quickly, and he came with Camilla, lovely Camilla. and our readers were there, and they all sang happy birthday to him. It was a really moving occasion, and I made a speech welcoming him, and in my speech I said, of course, it wasn't always like this, sir, you remember. And he laughed, and I told a couple of jokes about our early days. And then
do you remember any of the jokes?
Oh yeah, well the first one was when we went to Yugoslavia, our first royal tour I did with him, and as he went in to meet President Tito, welcome, welcome, and he said, how's the Queen? And he said, the Queen's very well, thank you, sir. And he said, have a cigarette. And Prince Charles said, no thanks, I gave them up when I was 12. And of course, everybody loved that. And of course, then he made a speech, and he wasn't expected to, but he did. And he did it off the cuff, in which he said, of course, Arthur Edwards wasn't always like this. He said, I remember when he used to hide in the bushes. Once I hid in the bushes, but he remembers it so well. And of course, it was a wonderful occasion, and a great coup for our paper, of course, obviously, because that's the only thing he did on his birthday, only public thing he did on his birthday was come to the Sun party, and the readers loved it, and he met all the readers, and so did Camilla, and I thought he met them all. Anyway, about 2 weeks later, he said, well, that went very well, thanks. You know, he said, oh no, he said, it was lovely. He said, in fact, I had a letter from one of your readers who said they never got a chance to meet me. So I sent her a picture, he said, and I thought that was nice, you know. So it's become from the from the serious arguments to peace and kindness, you know. And he's just you know, he's a joy to work with, and the reason why I carry on working. And I mean, I'm at an age where he should be well retired, but you know, because I love working with him, I love working with Camilla. They're just amazing people. And in his speech about me, he said, royal tours wouldn't be the same without Arthur Edwards. And I think, well, you know what? You can't have a better sort of praise than that. And so it's, so it's joyful. And of course, you know, it's hard work now. You know, I find it very hard now. But we, you know, I do a lot. We just worked this weekend with the Troop in the Colour, and then of course
Windsor.
Monday, Wednesday. Yeah. So you know, it's been a busy time.
Well, you're incredibly talented, and I understand why he is so fond of you. I don't want to spend too much time on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but just listening to that story and the evolution of your relationship, what you described as a very forgiving human being, somebody that can put the past behind him and move on. So do you think, and you know, just based on your relationship with him and how you've engaged with him, that he can forgive Prince Harry for some of, you know, the betrayal over the last few years?
You know, I always believe, you know, the parable of the prodigal son, you know, everything's possible because we all have to have forgiveness in our hearts, you know. And of course it could happen, but the thing is, this split with his brother is the worst part. I mean, because they were so close. I mean, I've photographed them both since they were born. They come out in their mother's arms, and I've seen them grow up together. I've seen them learn to ski together. I've learned them to water ski together. I've learned them they fly together when they both joined the Royal Air Force, and I've done everything with them, and they were inseparable, and they would always joke about each other. I remember one time William was saying Harry was in Sandhurst, the military academy, and he said, oh, Harry keeps showing me the blisters on his feet, but he said, I keep telling your smelly feet away from me, you know. And that's how they was with each other. They were fun. And then Meghan came along, and suddenly everything changed. Everything changed, I think, for the worse for our family, because although the first year of Meghan, it was great. I mean, she really embraced the job. I mean, I remember going all over the country with her. I went to Morocco with her, Ireland with her, Scotland, everywhere. And she really did warm to the public, and the public loved her, and the queues, and she stopped for selfies and pictures, and then it just suddenly, after about 18 months, everything changed. The baby came along. I mean, the way we were treated over the baby, I mean, a royal baby comes along, you normally get told that she's gone into hospital, and you turn up at the hospital and they come out with the baby, and it's
think about Diana and Kate on the steps.
Catherine, and and the Prince and Diana, yes. And of course, we were told at 2 o'clock she'd gone into labour. In fact, the baby was almost
Born.
teething, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that, and then of course, with no pictures, and Meghan was controlling everything, and the King, the Prince of Wales, and Camilla at the time were going on a state visit to Germany, and I said to the boss, look, I'm going to get no pictures of this. I'm going to go to Germany with. He said, okay, fine. And of course, there was a picture. The Press Association, the national agency here, did a picture of them and the baby, and that was it. We never saw it. And of course, I went to Germany and I got some nice pictures there, and I was, cast myself away from it then, and I never did another Harry tour after that.
You made the right move, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've seen the pain it's caused the Prince of Wales, our King. Sorry, he's the King now. He was the Prince of Wales then. I keep seeing the pain that he doesn't see the grandchildren. He doesn't, and I feel sorry for Harry's children, because they should be mixing with their cousins here. They should be playing up at Sandringham, at Balmoral, and they should be getting, to.
They should know their families.
Feel part of it, and of course they're not. And and as I say, Meghan is not talking to her family, and now Harry's not talking to his family, and there's only one common denominator there, and I feel sorry for him, because I have to say I loved Harry. I loved working with him. He was such fun. I mean, we went some wonderful trips together. I remember him playing rugby with the street kids on Copacabana Beach, or running with Usain Bolt in Jamaica, and playing with the school kids in New Zealand. And he was fun, and I remember one time I'd said something he didn't like on the television program in New Zealand. He'd said to someone the day before that, they said, oh, you're just like your father. He said, yeah, I'm losing my hair like my father. And he showed him he's going bald. And the following day I was on this TV show. I said, yeah, Harry's telling everybody he's going bald anyway. We went to this youth club, and he had to put his handprint on the wall, purple paint, and he put it on the wall, and then he turned around, he came over and he went right on the top of my head. And I said, and so when we were washing up, I said, what did you do that for? He said, well, you told everybody that I was losing my hair. So, well, that's what you told that woman yesterday. He said, yeah, but I didn't want you to tell the world.
That is so sweet.
So, but he was fun like that. And he would say at the end of every trip, he would organise, we'd go to a pub or a bar somewhere, and we'd spend an hour and a half with him, and he'd chat, and he'd talk about what he thought was wrong with this, and what he liked and what he didn't like. And if he didn't like what something he'd written, or he'd tell you, and at the same time you could tell him what. I remember, because in Jamaica, he hugged the Prime Minister, the lady, and I said, what did you do that for? He said, well, my father said she liked a hug, so I thought I'd get him first. Aww. So, he was pleasant, he was nice to talk to, and I really enjoyed his company. And at the end of our hour and a half session, he would pay the bar bill as well. So wow. It was fun. So, that was great. And he would always do his best to give us great pictures. I can remember him running in Brazil, and as he finished, he had a mask, William mask on his face, and that made a front page picture here. And he was just joy, dancing with the kids, wearing blue suede shoes, and he was just a pleasure to go with, and countries wanted him. And when he went, during one of the Queen's Jubilees, I think it was the Golden Jubilee, Princess Anne was supposed to go to Jamaica, and the Jamaicans wanted him, they wanted Harry. They said, no, young people want Harry, and they persuaded, and he went down to sensation with the kids there. And so that's no longer, now that young man is gone. All you see Harry now is in America going to some event where they give him a medal or something, or praise him for something, which, he didn't need that here. He was a prince of the realm here. He didn't have to park his car. He didn't have to go, organise getting a suit or have a haircut. It's all done for him. And
I've never thought about that. He's not used to having to arrange getting a haircut. That's
everything he has to do himself now. But but he thinks he's happier. I don't know if I know money doesn't bring you happiness, and I know that, and I just hope that. I know his children bring him happiness, and I think but I think the Prince, our King, would love to see his grandchildren. He would love to play with them. He would love to get to know them. But it's not happening. And slowly, well, not slowly, I think it's quite rapidly that the people here in the United Kingdom are getting to feel pretty hostile towards Meghan. And I mean, at one time, people under 30 thought that Meghan was a victim, but people over 30 thought she was horrendous, and I use horrendous mildly. And so that, there's an opinion. I mean, I can't, you stop a woman in the street and ask them what you think of Meghan, and you'll get your reply. And it's sad, really, because he was a great member of the royal family. And I remember him making a speech earlier in his life when he said, my main role in life is to support my brother. Mm. And they did things together. I mean, Harry started this night school in Lesotho. I mean, an amazing thing he did there. And he took his brother there to show him what he was doing. And I remember them photographing him in this school, in this night school, and the light was so poor, and the kids were all focused on the teacher teaching them. I think they were teaching them English. And I said to Harry, why are you doing this? He said, well, these kids, he said, they're feral, they go into the hills with, guarding sheep, looking after the sheep. He said, they can't read or write, they can go to school. At least they will ever go up there, be able to take a book and read. And he said, it's the greatest thing I do. And William was there supporting him. And that to me was what it was about, these two brothers. I remember them galloping along on their horses together. I remember that and Harry wearing this cloak the kids gave him, and he was totally involved in all that. That's no longer. Now, all you see him is maybe on a video being disparaging about his brother.
Well, I want to ask you, because it's Prince William's birthday month. So what would you wish for him? Because he's had a difficult last 6 months, and we've really seen the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's stepped up. He's been so impressive, over the last few months, and I really admire Prince William. I feel like through all of this, we have seen real leadership, and you have been closer to him than a lot of people in the world. Are you impressed with the man he's become?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it. And it all changed when we went to Israel. Up to then, I wasn't sure William wanted the job, I mean, he was... But that was it was a very difficult trip. It was, because of the problems in the occupied territories. And I remember the president, Israeli president briefing him, and William, it was like a minefield for him, and he was amazing how he dealt with it all. And I remember on the plane telling him that, and it was, I mean, that was when I realised he was going to be a great statesman, and he is now. And unfortunately, Catherine's not well, and he's doing everything on his own. And I feel sorry for him, because they always did things together. Like, we were at the trooping on Sunday, the Queen's birthday parade, and Catherine was there, and it just seemed so lovely seeing the family on the balcony, which is what we normally see every year. But at the Garter ceremony earlier this week, William was walking with his brother Edward and his aunt Anne, Princess Anne. So, and he felt sad about it. And then after the service, when they're coming down the steps, that's when the wives all join their husbands, and it's almost like, but of course, there was the King with Camilla, and there was Edward with Sophie, and William on his own. And I realised that, this cancer is a terrible thing, and Catherine has been very honest with us, and she's saying she's still ongoing with the treatment. But I think she's winning. I thought she looked great on the trooping day. And of course, our King is also still getting treatment for cancer, and he's trying to do too much. And remember, the Queen, Camilla, saying to me recently, if only he'd do what he was told.
Exactly.
like most men, they think they can do more than they should. But it's the royal family's in very good order at the moment. There's the two important members recovering from cancer, but they're still getting on with their life. And as Catherine said, she's still working, she's still getting all, you know, she's involved with the school, with the children, and you know, 3 fabulous children, and of course William's job is like what Prince Charles's job was, to make William into a good king, and that's William's job now to train George to be a good king. You know, it's all part of the process, and it is quite a process. You know, they can't. You think they can do exactly what they want, but they can't. They have to go into the Marines, they have to go into the Army, they have to go into the Air Force, they have to go to the Navy, they have to go to business school. All those things, you know, they can do. And so, you know, it's in good order. But
it is.
They're having a little few difficulties at the moment.
No, but I'm with you. I think that they look fantastic. Well, it's been such a pleasure to spend some time with you. Congratulations on all of your success, and what a beautiful legacy you have.
Well, you're very kind, thank you. And it's been a great life, you know. Like I say, it's a job I didn't want to do. But
yeah, but what a blessing.
Thank God I did.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.